back to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. I'm Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donnie Netto from St. Mary's University. And this is the sports show on HBC devoted exclusively to St. Mary's and our athletic programs. And Donnie, a lot to get to this week once again. And a little bit later on, we'll be talking women's soccer with Neil Cassidy, the head soccer coach for the women's team. And Neil's team got off to a fast start this year, and they're scoring goals, and so a lot of excitement around that women's soccer program.
Yeah, it's always good to have Coach Cassidy on, and I like to give him a hard time about his English accent, and I hope that all of our viewers will be able to understand him about as well as I do. So Neil's a lot of fun, and I think he's doing a very good job with the Cardinal program, and it'll be fun to have him on and just kind of talk a little bit about how things have changed from when he started took over the program several years ago, and where they're at now, and his expectations for this year and in the future.
All right, so that'll be coming up shortly, but first we'll get to some of the past week's events, and we'll start off with volleyball. Mike Lester was one of the coaches we've already had on the Cardinals Nest, and his team went to the Ripon Invitational this past weekend, and they swept all 4 games. Won them all. They are really playing well. We had them here on HBC TV 25 last Wednesday night.
Yeah, and exciting. We'll have a couple more games of theirs coming up here in the future. On the 7th and 14th, HBC will be up at the St. Mary's Gym, but it's going to be exciting for the Winona community to get to see them play again, because they are playing some phenomenal volleyball right now. You've got they're at 12-2. Like you said, they swept through the Ripon Invitational, dropping just one set to St. Norbert. They won that one 3-1, and then they whipped through their other 3 matches 3-0. So playing some outstanding volleyball. Now they'll get into the heart of their conference season, and really you look at the schedule that they've got coming up. They're at Hamlin, and then they go to at St. Thomas this Saturday. And then they've got a week off before they take on St. Benedict and Concordia, both 2 teams that are usually in the national polls, and will pose certainly a real challenge for St. Mary's as St. Mary's tries to battle for a conference championship. And the way they're playing right now, I certainly wouldn't put that past them.
Right. And Donnie, it's one thing to read about them on paper and to talk about them here on the show every week, but you and I both had a chance to see them last Wednesday in the conference opener against St. Kate's. And what amazed me was that front line rotation. It's as deep as it's ever been for Coach Lester's
Absolutely,
squad.
And it makes it really hard for other teams, because even if you've got your 2 right sides, or you got Cassidy Biddle and Mackie Fadness, they're 2 different players. So it's really hard to try and defend, because you're really defending 2 different people when they're in that position. And as Mike has said so many times to me and to you, as their offense goes is how Lex Krogstad goes. Yeah. And Lex had a ridiculously crazy week last week. She had 125 digs in the 5 matches that the Cardinals played, earned herself Conference Player of the Week honors, and then the following day on Tuesday it was announced that she was the National Player of the Week, and it's been since 1996 since a St. Mary's athlete has been the National Player of the Week, and so that's a great honor for Lex and a great honor for that program. And she's been phenomenal for 4 years. She's number 2 in the number 2 all time in digs for the Cardinals, and will really get close to breaking that record held by Teresa Perini. And we're hoping that continues. But Mike has always said that she's kind of the cog that makes things go. And as she goes, they do. And she had a great week, and so did the Cardinals.
Yeah, she is definitely, you can see sort of the glue that holds that team together. They have a lot of other players that get in the stats, and we're happy to talk about. But she's definitely sort of the leader of that team, kind of a quiet leader too, but definitely one they all look up to and respect.
No question, and she's just another one of those in that great senior class that they have that are really making this senior year a memorable one. And another one that we've talked a lot about is Mackie Fadness. She was all-tournament at the Ripon tournament and has now been all-tournament in all 3 of the regular season tournaments the Cardinals have had. So, she's doing an outstanding job. Cassidy Biddle, I mentioned. Then you look at some of the other seniors. Alex Peterson is coming off a knee injury and really kind of getting back into the form that she was in last year before getting hurt. And I know Mike is continually looking for big things from her. Jenna Sullivan is having a great senior year. And Jenna's one of those that not only is she outstanding up front, but she's a great digger as well, and has 3 double-doubles of more than 10 kills and more than 10 digs in a match. so she's really versatile and gives the Cardinals a nice look there too. So great senior leadership, and you hope that that's just going to carry in as they really kind of hit their stride here in the conference.
Right. We haven't talked a whole lot this season about Cassidy Biddle, but she's another example of, I think, how Mike Lester recruits not only from the Twin Cities, not only from the Chicago area, but also locally, because she was a Winona native, and he has actually a lot of Winona and Winona area athletes on his volleyball team.
Absolutely, and he prides himself in that. Southeastern Minnesota is kind of his bread and butter when it comes to recruiting. And Cassidy, like you said, is a Winhawk, and is doing a great job for the Cardinals. She got hurt last year, so she didn't get as much playing time as she may have liked. But Alex Peterson, like I mentioned, she's from Harmony, Minnesota, and another one of those that's a local person. So Mike likes to find the diamonds in the rough in this area, and Southeast Minnesota volleyball is extremely good in high school, and so he's got a lot of great athletes to choose from, and keeps making them make that perfect step from high school to college, and they just kind of walk right through and are ready to go.
Right. Let's go now to cross country, and Coach Barrett's team had probably the best trip of the year, not only from a fun standpoint, but also from a competition standpoint, because they did really well at the Notre Dame Invitation.
Yeah, no question. You get to, like you said, you get to travel to South Bend, Indiana, and kind of tour the Notre Dame campus, and that's always, if anybody can do that, you want to do that, because it's an amazing experience. But then they got down to business and really did a phenomenal job at the National Catholic Championships, and Jovan Newsom, who struggled a little bit in the first meet, the St. Mary's Alumni Open, really came through and did a nice job in leading the way for the men, and Heidi Liederman for the women, a freshman, kind of stepped forward and turned in an outstanding 5K time of her own. And so I know Coach Barrett, the way their schedule is set up is it's an every other week kind of schedule. So now they're off this weekend, and they'll train through to next weekend when they're at the Eau Claire Invitational. Mm-hmm. And so they get a little time to rest, recuperate, and then go right back at it. But Jovan is going to be one of those, and Austin O'Hare, who was the team leader in their first meet. Those two look to be the number 1 and 2 runners for the men, and Jace Pater is doing a good job as well, and he'll be right in that mix. And then you look at the on the women's side, like I mentioned, Liederman, and then you've got Allie Thiel and Erica Thiel, her sister, and they're doing a fine job. So the depth is there. Now it's just a matter of continuing to use these meets every other week to kind of prepare them for that conference championship at the end of October. Right. And right now they seem to be doing well. It's only 2 meets in though, so it's really hard to tell where they're at.
And there were 34 teams at that championships, and the St. Mary's team ended up 9th place on the men's side. Right?
Yeah, and the nice thing that he really likes about this meet, aside from the travel, and he always joked that they had to get to South Bend takes as long as to get to Concordia. So it really wasn't that far of a trip, really. But the thing he likes about it is that it's all teams that they usually don't face. Yeah, St. Thomas was there and St. Benedict was there, but there's a lot of Catholic universities from the East that compete in this invitational. So you're getting a chance to kind of see what the rest of the country, especially the Eastern schools, have in terms of competition. And so it's a good experience. You're not always running against those same people that you're going to see almost week in and week out, but you're getting a chance to see some other teams that maybe will kind of give you a better perspective on where you're sitting in terms of your fitness and your competition level.
And speaking of cross country, now I'm going to digress from college cross country for just a second, but St. Mary's campus this weekend will host the Jim Flim Invitational. So all of the local area cross country teams, both boys and girls, will participate in that, and that's always an interesting race because that course is tough enough for college athletes, much less high school athletes.
Well, and it's so true because most and Coach Barrett will say this too. Most of the times when they run in races, the National Catholic Championships is a great example. Flat course, probably one of the flattest courses they'll run in. But when you compete at St. Mary's, you've got those hills to contend with, and I know from the races that I've run there, it's the toughest course to run just because it's so much up and down rather than a flat a flat course. And I think that it'll be a great challenge for these high school individuals. And I think it'll be a good experience because, if they do move on to college and want to run in this area, at some point they're going to have to compete again at St. Mary's, and this is a very good experience for them.
And some really excel at that type of course and do very well, but it's always a fun race. Finally, Donnie, before we bring Neil Cassidy in and talk women's soccer, the men's soccer team, they got off to a 2-0 start this year, but now have lost 4 straight and really scoring offense. The reason why they're just 1 goal this past week in a couple of games.
Yeah, it's been tough, and I know that Coach Watkins is, as you always do, you're trying to find the answer to your offense, and right now their offense is Jim Drescher. Jim scored their only goal against St. John's on Saturday, and he's kind of been their offensive machine right now, and while that's great in that Jim's doing a good job of scoring, you need to get some other people into that mix, and you look at Saturday's game against St. John's. St. John's is a phenomenal team, one of the best in the conference, and it's 1-0 St. Mary's at the half. So St. Mary's was doing everything they wanted to do, but that second half, St. John's converted on a couple of opportunities they got, and the game kind of got away from the Cardinals in that 4-1 loss. But I think that Coach Watkins is seeing a lot of things that he's happy about with the team. Defensively, they're playing fairly well. They're doing a good job of shutting down other teams. The problem is getting that offense going, and you're not going to win a whole lot of games scoring 1 goal a game. And so hopefully they can find a way to get some more people into the mix. Again, it's great to see Jim doing what he's doing, but he needs a little help up there.
Yeah, coming up this week, they have Simpson, Bethel, and Gustavus all next up on the docket. So stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. When we come back, we'll bring Neil Cassidy in and talk women's soccer. That's next here on HBC TV 25.
Join HBC Sports' Extra Point one-camera coverage of high school football and soccer throughout the fall, presented by Lewiston Auto. In addition to our Football Night Crew broadcasts, Extra Point will bring you 8 games from the gridiron and 9 games from the pitch. For the full slate of games, simply visit hbci.com/sports to find out when your team will be on the field. That's Extra Point coverage of HBC Sports presented by Lewiston Auto, all fall, only on TV 25. HBC Sports has your volleyball fixed this season as your exclusive home for St. Mary's volleyball throughout the fall. The 2015 Cardinals will look to build on an impressive 20-13 mark a year ago, and you'll get to watch it happen with 5 matches brought to you live on TV 25. For the full broadcast schedule, simply visit hbci.com/sports for details to find out when the Redbirds will take the court. That's St. Mary's volleyball all season long, only on HBC Sports.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
This is HBC Job Finder. Masterson Staffing has immediate openings in Winona, Stockton, and Wabasha for first, second, and third shifts. Positions as sewing and mending techs, machine relief operators, and general production labor available. Pay up to $12.50 an hour. Paid weekly with benefits. Call 507-252-8481 for detail. Email your resume to rochester@mastersonstaffing.com. For a full description, go to jobs.hbci.com.
And we're back on the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donnie Netto and also Neil Cassidy, the head coach for the women's soccer team, joining us. Neil, thanks again for being on the Cardinals Nest, and your team got off to a really hot start this year. Now conference play is getting going, so give us a little recap on the season so far, some of the things you're really doing well that you like, and then maybe some of the things that you're looking to improve upon as you get deeper into conference play here.
The team. I think the team, first and foremost, is our culture's kind of come together. It's taken a few years to get there, but I feel we're in a really good place team-wise. We're all getting along. We all trust each other, both on and off the field, and it's a really special thing to be a part of. Mm-hmm. In terms of our first few games, the MIAC's a hard conference. We know that. We've beaten the number 2 ranked team in the Midwest Conference being the 4th ranked team in the UMAC, and yet our first 2 conference foes, 19th in the nation, unfortunate 1-0 loss, and then St. Ben's on Saturday were probably the best Division 3 performance that I've seen in 10 years of being involved in D3 women's soccer.
Yeah. And how do you, Coach, how do you then, especially those 2 conference games, how do you make sure that the team understands that, you know what, you're playing better than maybe that 0-2 conference record states? How do you keep them, you know, on that straight and narrow to realize that you're not that far away?
Just concentrating on us. It's about us, it's about the family, it's about our team, and it's about us staying connected. I think once you lose that connectivity within a team, then that's when you spiral downwards. We've not got that. It's the complete opposite. We're excited for the rest of the conference. I think we've got the 2 of our biggest foes out of the way, and things are looking good. We've had great training sessions.
And Coach, I can confirm what you say about that positive team attitude, because I regularly talk to Caroline Blackwood, Ellen Moran, Fiona Larson, and after that Augsburg game where you lost that conference opener 1-0 to Augsburg, all 3 were super positive about the direction that the team is heading, and said, you know, it's a game we could have had, and but it's a good opponent, and we know we're right there with them.
Yep, and that's completely right. But we've got to hold ourselves accountable as well. You know, we could doing the right things, but when we do things that don't quite fit, then there is that accountability factor, and that's a part of our culture as well.
Yeah. You know, you talk about the family, and you know, your upperclassmen, especially your seniors, but they've really done a nice job of welcoming the newcomers in and making that family, and I think that they deserve a little bit of credit for, you know, for that culture and that change and that family attitude, because really without them welcoming in and accepting the younger people, you're going to have some problems.
Oh, definitely. I mean, one of our seniors put it best. She's been a part of 2 different programs in her 4 years here. So the first 2 was that, you know, trying to find an identity, trying to find out who we are, who we can be, what we can do, and then the last 2 years was actually putting it together. And now the expectation of everybody that comes into the program is one that everybody shares, and it's phenomenal to see. It really is. So kudos to them.
You know, we were talking in the first segment about Coach Lester and how he kind of has the southeastern Minnesota is kind of his niche in terms of recruiting, brings out some great players from that area. You kind of have the same approach, only you go west. I know you have a lot of people from the Colorado area. I know you're recruiting out of California. Talk a little bit about that approach and the philosophy in terms of how you're recruiting.
There's so many good soccer players. There's so many good teams in Minnesota that it kind of gets a little bit saturated. Everybody going after the same player. It's not we don't recruit Minnesota. We do, and we've got some good players for this next year. I think that will be coming in. But we've got to broaden our horizons, and I talk about with recruits experience and relationships. 4 years of soccer is 4 years of soccer, but the relationships you build from going to stay in Colorado, that you meet somebody that you may not have met before. That's what I think is an important part of the collegiate, the thing we're looking for, that experience.
Is it harder going so far away to recruit in terms of getting them to know St. Mary's? I know now with several Colorado players on your team, it makes it a little bit easier. They can talk to these people. But how do you sell St. Mary's to somebody who may not have even heard of it because of the distance they are away from Winona, Minnesota?
Great question. What are they looking for in a school? As soon as they see community, I know we've got a really good chance of getting them. And then we explain our family values. We explain what we are as a team and those relationships. And for a lot of people, that's what they're looking for a home away from home. And that's what St. Mary's has to offer in our team.
Neil, let's talk about a few of the leaders on your team this year. Emma Schaefer, who we have talked about on this show in relation to the M Club weekend. She's a 2-sport athlete, starter in basketball, also a key contributor to the women's soccer team. She's leading your team in goals right now, along with Janice Martinez. So maybe talk about Emma and Janice and their importance offensively for your team.
I love talking about our athletes, but I love talking about our team more. You know, it's Emma gets the assist. Well, who does she get the ball from? Who does she give it to put that away? Janice get the goals, who does she get the ball from?
Yeah.
So
and who advanced it
yeah,
before that? And
right, and you know, unfortunately, like the goalkeepers and defenders never get a lot of love because that's the stats are heavily featured going forward. So I always talk about our team. You know, to get the ball there, we need to do something. Right. To win games, we need to stop goals. Yep. So I look for, and I'm sorry to not talk about those individual athletes, but that's where I really heavily on team.
Right. One thing you could talk about though, and it isn't just I'm not trying to single Emma out, but the fact that she is a two-sport athlete, and as a coach, you see it firsthand. How hard is that to be able to play? Not only focus on soccer and the studies there, but then to turn around and do that again in the winter. I mean, from your standpoint, talk a little bit about coaching a two-sport athlete.
She's awesome. I mean, she's also got one of the highest GPAs on our team. So that in and of itself speaks to the type of person that she is. To just seamlessly go from one to the other. And then she's very honest with herself as well. She knows when she needs a break. And when that happens, we try and work together to make sure that she is fresh for both sports, because she is an important contributor for both.
You know, can you talk a little bit schedule-wise? I know you've got a game at Stout, and then you go back into conference play, and then you step out of conference play, and you go back into conference play. Are the non-conference games put in there strategically on your part so that maybe you can step away from the conference and maybe work on some things in a non-conference game?
Yes and no. We get the conference schedule at the start of the season. Some teams reschedule their conference games. We just keep it as is. Then we know what to get prepared for. I mean, it's tough to get non-conference games and making sure that we do have enough games. So it's kind of where we can fit things together. You know, if we do move things here and there, that may be the possibility. But this year, it's a lot better because we've got home away, home away. In years past, we could have had 4 home games and then 5 away games. But the conference has changed it around so it's home away contests, which is helpful because, you know, we play better at St. Mary's. And I think other teams play better at their place. So.
Sure. Finally, Neil, as we look to close out the season now, what are your goals and expectations for the rest of the year? Where do you want to see this team end up?
That's the exact same question I asked my team. Where do we want to end up? And, of course, how do we get there? So where we want to end up, we end up in the conference tournament. Do we have the capability to get there? For sure. Am I expecting that? Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, Neil Cassidy, thanks for being on the show today, and good luck the rest of the season. And I know you're off right now to Stout, so good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. We'll be right back and talk some more sports with Donnie Netto right here on HBC TV 25.
Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25. Want the latest news on St. Mary's University athletics? Watch the Cardinals Nest on HBC TV 25. Dean Beckman and SMU Sports Information Director Donnie Netto will talk about the past week in Cardinal athletics, highlighting the best in each Cardinal sports team. Player and coach guests will add their stories and insight each week with new shows Thursdays at 5 p.m. and replays Fridays at 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 7:30 a.m. on HBC TV 25.
At HBC, we know it's often the little details that the customer will remember, and that's why we are committed to being attentive in all facets of our business. We strive to provide industry-leading products and services, all while providing unparalleled personal care. HBC's customer service and technical support are provided locally within each service market and are available by phone or by visiting the local offices. Call 888-474-9995 and start experiencing the HBC difference today.
Join HBC Sports' Extra Point one-camera coverage of high school football and soccer throughout the fall, presented by Lewiston Auto. In addition to our Football Night Crew broadcasts, Extra Point will bring you 8 games from the gridiron and 9 games from the pitch. For the full slate of games, simply visit hbci.com/sports to find out when your team will be on the field. That's Extra Point coverage of HBC Sports presented by Lewiston Auto, all fall, only on TV 25.
And welcome back to the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto here to wrap things up on this episode. And Donnie, great to have Neil in, and it really has been, under his leadership, a lot of improvement for that women's soccer program. Offensively, they have come a long ways.
Yeah, and I think the neat thing, and we were kind of talking a little bit off camera, in that it is all about the team, and he really truly believes that. And I talk to him a lot, after each game and previewing each game, and he does not like to single people out because it's a team effort, offensively, defensively, wins, losses. It's all about the team, and I think that that's the culture that he's changed in that program more than anything. And I think that's what's really going to lead them to a lot of success, is just being able to keep that team atmosphere rather than trying to having it be about a person or a couple of people.
Switching now to men's golf, and we are going to single someone out here, and that's Blake Westerberg, because at the St. John's Invitational, he tied for third place individually. Great performance again by Blake.
Absolutely unbelievable. And Blake has always shown, all 4 years he's been here, that he has the ability to shoot some very good rounds. This year, he's actually living up to that ability. When you shoot 3 over par for 36 holes at the St. John's Invitational against arguably probably the toughest field that he's going to face all year, and finish third individually is a fantastic honor for Blake, and I'm very happy for him. And opens up with a 75 and comes back with an even par 72, and that's the potential that he's always shown that he can do, and now he's really living up to it. He has had every round this year has been in the 70s, and he continues to get better and better. This was probably the first time all year that they weren't quite as consistent with their scores behind Blake. Brett Jackson had a great first round. He had a 3 over 75, but then struggled to an 83 the second day. And then Kyle Brodt had a tough first round, came back with a 70, around in the 70s the second day. They need those 3 to at least be in the 70s if they're going to make any type of noise. And so I think it was the first time this year that maybe they weren't as consistent as they have been all year. And even still, I'm really excited for what this program can do. They've got another conference tournament this weekend, or another tournament this weekend, and then the conference championships next weekend. And I'm really excited to see what they can do up at Bunker Hills.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Blake's play has definitely raised the expectations, raised the bar for some of the other golfers, and when they are inconsistent, it becomes noticeable.
Well, it's interesting because you talk about Brett, and he goes 75-83. In years past, that's really good. We're happy about that. This year, knowing what those guys can do, and top to bottom, their top 5 can all shoot good rounds in the 70s, and so the expectation, the bar has been raised, and even for Blake, if he shoots 79, people are going to be going, wait a minute. He can do better than that, and so I think that, and that's a neat thing. That's a good thing to have, is that expectation, being that you guys can shoot lower than we have been in the past. And I think that's a great sign of good things to come for this team.
Donnie, just a minute left. In women's golf, Madison Gately and Caitlin Kling led the Cardinals in the D3 Classic that was in Lake City at the Jewel.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things that those two have really been the 2 leaders of that team, and you throw Haley Jung in there, those 3 have been doing a great job. Again, the consistency might not have been there as it had been in the past. Caitlin came back with an 88 in her second round, best round for the tournament for the Cardinals, and they need those rounds to get a little bit lower. And again, they've got another tune-up this weekend, and then the conference championship. So exciting time for the golf programs for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Donnie, thanks for being on the show once again, and thanks to you for watching. That's going to do it for this Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25. Thanks for watching, and tune in again next week for another Cardinals Nest.